Good afternoon, everybody. We have a special meeting here of the City Council of the City of New Jersey, of Cape May City, New Jersey. We are in the Cape May City Hall Auditorium. Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. The time is now 3:49. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Under the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May County Herald and the Press of Atlantic City, and a copy of the agenda was delivered to each member of council, posted on the city website and the Cape May City Hall bulletin board. Notice is hereby provided that Cape May City Council meetings are audio recorded and/or video streamed live. Live video streams are posted to the Cape May City website. City of Cape May is not responsible if audio recording or live video streaming of a meeting is unavailable. Roll call. Deputy Mayor Baldwin.
Here.
Councilmember McDade.
Here.
Councilmember Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Mullick.
Here.
Councilmember Yeager.
Here.
City Solicitor Gillenschwartz.
Here.
City Manager Dietrich.
Here.
And Deputy Manager Riggs.
Here.
All right, Council, for the special meeting, we have one resolution. It's 265-10-2024. A resolution providing for a meeting not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. This is to discuss the municipal judge position and the shared services agreement to provide uniform construction code services between the City of Cape May and Borough of Cape May Point.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Yeager.
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer.
Yes.
Councilmember McDade.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin.
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
And public portion, Mayor.
Anyone here wishing to speak on Resolution 265? Seeing no one here, we'll close public comment and go into closed session.
Time is 3:50.
statue had him with his jacket open like this. So Reagan's wife was like, no, that's totally off a character. He always had his jacket buttoned. So they had to melt it back down to recast it. So the cool thing about it was, in the meantime, they got a piece of the Berlin Wall. It's part of the pedestal that it stands on. Isn't that cool? Check this out. Probably about 20 years old. My friend used to work for me.
I don't see Mr. Pete around much anymore, but
It's a shame. I wake up in the middle of the night and I stuff my face full of peanuts. So you're the guy at the baseball game with the big pile of stuff around you.
Does she know what she's having?
How about sunflower seeds? Do you like those?
that's when I
So then that would be
coaching, assistant coach.
3 boys and a girl. 4.
Oh,
We actually had a little surprise.
oh yeah.
Monday we surprised them. He was so happy.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're excited.
That's awesome.
I wish you saw the
Did I?
old,
Oh, I left
the old
my,
baseball field we had
thing
here.
upstairs.
When I was a kid, it was
what?
the only field with real dugouts.
My binder's upstairs.
I'm gonna run.
And when they announced your name, and there's the only one in the county that, or at least in our district, that had the lights. So it was only night games. They announced you. You felt like you were a major leaguer. And the fact when the ball comes hitting at you when you're like with this high to the ground, it really makes you up. Pretty cool. But then, you know, at nighttime, you take your girlfriend from there and you miss out.
Hey, Steve.
Steve, how you doing? What you do? Oh no, when did you come back?
Sunday night. It was, yeah, it was pretty easy to traveling for us both ways, you know. So nice being able to fly right on. You can go anywhere in Key West. The only Uber we took was to and from the airport and between hotels. Everything else, they
Oh, nice. Oh,
spread by
but I saw some
Hotels.
TikToks on them just recently. They seem kind of quiet down there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of parking spaces available.
It's in September, it's really quiet.
It kind of reminded me of around this place during the week.
It's, yeah,
Cool.
it's their slowest month. Right. They just closed for that month and then they open up in October, the second year in October.
Hey, gives everybody a break. They can get to come up north. That's cool. Was it really?
So humid. I went for, Ed and I went to go do some overnight, do a notary and some shit overnight. We walked 1.7 miles to this place, and then walked back to the hotel. Like, back. She said, holy, I mean, the city west of my
A walking mile. I saw it was October. The clouds cleared and then it was steamy all day. It was so hot. I had to go home and change. I wasn't going to raise my arms up.
I saw an email from one of our people that manned one of the tables. She said, so, the term will be open.
I think, did you check and see if everyone was okay to add this? I'm fine with it.
It's this Saturday.
Oh, okay. Has it been open?
Mostly has been on the weekends,
Okay, we're not doing any action. We're not adding anything.
We have 1 o'clock. We start at 1, so, and there's,
especially with all the other boards and the other whole.
yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. No worries.
I thought, man, these guys don't know how to spell. That's pretty cool.
We're going to add it.
Did you talk to them?
I'm okay with adding it. He's gonna,
Good evening, everyone. We apologize for the time here. We coming out of closed session, and I need a motion to close the closed session.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. With that, we will open it up for our regular meeting. Once I find the paper here. There we go. Thank you. I got it. Good evening, everyone. We have a work session meeting of the City Council of the City of Cape May. We are here in the Cape May City Hall Auditorium. Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. The time is now 5:10. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Under the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May County Herald and the Press of Atlantic City, and a copy of the agenda was delivered to each member of City Council, posted on the Cape May City website and the Cape May City Hall Bulletin Board. Notice is hereby provided that Cape May City Council meetings are audio recorded and/or video streamed live. Live video streams are posted to the Cape May City website. The City of Cape May is not responsible if audio recording or live video streaming of a meeting is unavailable. Roll call. Deputy Mayor Bowen.
Here?
Councilmember McDade.
Here.
Councilmember Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Mullick.
Here.
Councilmember Yeager.
Here.
City Solicitor Gillen Schwartz.
Here.
City Manager Dietrich.
Here.
Deputy Manager Riggs.
Here.
Any additions and deletions tonight, Council?
I believe we have 279, and
This will actually be 278 tonight.
I apologize,
No worries.
278. Okay. And do we need one for the nature trails?
For the nature trails
Bidding.
and for Lafayette Street to authorize the bid, I was just going to bring that up in my manager update to get a
Okay.
motion vote for that, and we would do a follow-up resolution since we don't have a prepared document here this evening for that.
Okay.
So for reference, 278-10-2024 is a resolution authorizing ServPro Cape May services for mold remediation at the Cape May Firehouse.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call? Do we need roll call on that?
We do, to add. I didn't know, I think there might be an explanation from
Did you want an
Manager Dietrich.
explanation now for the resolution?
Let's
or
do that when
later?
we get to it, I think.
Okay.
Okay. So the
Roll-
motion is to add. So Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes.
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
All right. Any other additions or deletions?
Anything else, council? No? Employee of the month?
I have some unfortunate news this evening. Our employee of the month has some personal situations going on where she could not get here this evening. Her husband is ill and taking care of him, so I was not able to. So hopefully at our next meeting, we're going to put this back on the agenda and have her here at that meeting.
Good. We wish them the best for sure, certainly. On to updates and old business, city manager.
Thank you. Wanted to give a couple updates, and I guess the first is, so we have the two projects, we've had some discussions before, and Vince Orlando, our project engineer, was getting ready to finalize all the documents, send it over to authorize the bid, and our clerk, noticed that Vince and I both thought that we had prior authorization for council to go out to bid because we presented the projects and we thought we'd included it in prior resolutions. After further research, it wasn't necessarily formalized as we had thought. That's why engineers do engineering and clerks do all the clerk stuff. So for that, if we could have a motion vote this evening to authorize to go out to bid for those two projects. This would be for the Nature Trail project and I'll say the first subpart of the next Lafayette Street Park phase, which includes, I'll say, the improvements closest to the elementary school, the open play area, the dog park, and the bocce ball court, as long as some of the pavilions that are associated.
I'll make a motion.
There.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
And then we'll have a formal resolution at the next meeting just to memorialize this.
Just to, should we have a roll call on that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just before roll call, two quick ones on that. We want to thank the county. Has the commissioners approved?
The commissioners, we've gotten preliminary approval out of the Open Space Board for essentially, I think, 90% funding for the Nature Trail project, which was great news. And that needs to still be ratified by the County Commissioner's Office.
Okay. But was that 2 million? 1.9?
1.9.
Well, it was like 1.997 or something, I think.
Yeah.
Almost $2 million in funding from county open space, so that really is wonderful, and we thank the county for that.
Does that project include the baseball field?
That includes an open area for where the baseball field is. We're not, as we had previously discussed, we're not improving the baseball field. We're going to probably have, like, I'll say, where the bases are located at, but there won't be a formal dugout and infield and stuff like that. It'll be an open area, but have the bases laid out so that you could go out there and have a little pickup game, but not have the formal structure of a baseball field.
And then there's also the $500,000 grant from the DEP, and that's on the park portion, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I know one of the things with that is that basically expires by the end of the year, I think.
Correct. They're looking to have us move on both of those.
So authorizing this to go to bid is important, obviously.
I have another question.
Sure.
That open space that could be used for pickup games, will that include a backstop?
I don't think that we were including a full backstop at that location. Not saying that we can't add one in a later phase if we feel we need it, but it was not included in a formal backstop.
We could do it, though. Okay. Any other questions, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Thank you. And just as a reminder for the public, the draft plans of what we've described are up on the city's website under the construction projects, and there's been no significant change to those. Once we have the final documents from the project engineer, obviously the final plans will be uploaded to the website for the full public to see. The next thing I want to bring up, we're coming to the close. The Bike and Pedestrian Committee has been working on the Safe Streets program with updating all of our bike and pedestrian and roadway safety improvements. And we're looking to possibly have a public hearing on that on October 17th in the evening, if council is okay with that date. It was kind of tough to find all the dates that they had selected. We had planning board, zoning boards, we got our special meeting for floodplain, so a lot of stuff going on in October, and that was kind of the only open date. So I just wanted to, if council was okay with that date, just to have hold a public hearing. But the Bike and Pedestrian Committee has been very active in having public meetings almost every other month regarding that project. I think they have a draft plan all prepared, and it's really, this is to present the final draft plan to the public beyond the subcommittee meetings that we've been holding.
Do we have a time on that?
Probably 5 o'clock,
Okay.
like a 5 to 7.
Here, manager? At
Excuse
City
me?
Hall?
Yeah, yep. The next item is great news from the tax collector's office this afternoon. All taxes have been paid for the 2023 year. So another year where we do not have to have a tax sale. So that's, great work by our tax collector and the staff in that office. And, really a good thank you to all of our residents and business owners that, made sure that we collected all the taxes so that we can pay our bills to the county and the schools and all those kinds of things. But we had another year of 100% collection. And on another positive note, the tax assessor has closed out their, they now are closing out their added assessment years, coming to almost to an end, and a little over $18.7 million of added assessments to the tax rolls will be put on for this year. So those, just to follow up from last meeting, we had a lot of positive economic numbers, but, the residents in the city are actively improving their properties within the city limits. That's all I had for this evening.
Thank you, City Manager. City Solicitor?
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Any old business, City Council? Okay, on to discussion. We have a discussion on the pocket-to-place and person-to-person liquor license number 0502-33-006-004. Good afternoon, Mayor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Scott Silver from the firm of Nemat Goldstein, Davis.
Mr. Silver, just hit the button there.
And move it a little closer.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Scott Silver on behalf of Beach Avenue Hospitality. This is an application for the place-to-place and person-to-person transfer of a plenary retail consumption license that would go to the Peter Shields Inn. We have had some discussions with the city solicitor and some other folks, and our understanding is that the license would authorize us to sell alcoholic beverages indoors. Sales and services would be for the dining patrons of the Peter Shields Inn as well as the hotel patrons. And we would not be selling or serving alcoholic beverages outdoors, with one exception, and that would be to continue the practice of special events. Usually there are 6, 7, 8, 9 a year, and it's just when people mostly are getting married out on the front lawn. We would continue our tradition of fine dining, and instead of being just a BYOB establishment, we would now have the ability to sell alcoholic beverages to dining patrons and to hotel guests as well.
That's great. Just so I understand the format here, we can ask them questions, and and actually, let me get even a little more general. Obviously, we don't have a lot of liquor license transfers in the city of Cape May, so just to remind the council of exactly what we're doing right now, just so.
So I can lay a little bit of a foundation here for council and for the public. This license is a
Mr.
product.
Gillen-Schwartz.
This license is the product of the pocket license from the Finn's Bar and Restaurant. They're looking to place it at Peter Shields. And like every other liquor license application and transfer application we've seen in the last few years, at least the ones that I've been involved with the clerk's office, we run it through zoning. There is a vetting process with the police department. The same individuals were involved in this one, so there's background checks for person-to-person transfers. And then the place-to-place is run through zoning, and we review any conditions or issues that may pop up there. And there's publication, so there's an opportunity for the public to be notified of this, and that there's going to be a hearing on the application. And just for the record, I don't believe that we received any letters of objection or anything like that in response.
That's correct.
And only when that occurs are we required by statute to conduct a hearing. So really, council could act on this by vote, but our practice, and I informed Mr. Silver of this when they were going through the application process, our local process is we typically give more process than is necessary. So even if we don't receive objections, we recognize that people may not really realize what's going on until they see a council agenda. So we'll conduct basically a mini hearing here, have the applicant available with their counsel to answer any questions that council may have, and that any questions the public may have at the time of consideration of the application. This has been vetted by zoning. The conditions that are reflected in the proposed resolution included with the agenda packet reflect a back and forth with the applicant, conferencing with the zoning officer to confirm a use that could be consistent and approved at the zoning officer level and not require a trip to the board. The applicant has been advised and understands and acknowledges that a use beyond what is contained in that resolution would require a site plan, planning board, zoning board process, whatever board would be applicable, and they've been through that before. But this is a use of the license that would be consistent with an approval at the zoning officer level, which was what the applicant was looking to see, what the boundaries of that would be, and that's how we ended up before council today.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Please.
You folks, you had a liquor license before, or at least Peter Shields had a liquor license before, so we're basically reverting back to the way it used to be ran? Would that be correct?
My name's Lenny Gagliardi, by the way. Well, we would have a liquor license again, but we will not have seating at our bar.
So just
It'll be a service bar.
I'm just, my thing is, I'm prepared to vote for this. I mean, I think it's pretty basic. I don't,
Well, I have one question, too. You stated that your intention is that this would only be for guests of the Peter Shields Inn, either staying overnight or for those who are dining.
Correct.
For wedding events or other small events that you might have. You don't intend at this time or at any future point in time for the public to come up and sit outside and be able to have drinks served?
Well, we wouldn't do that unless we brought it before zoning.
Pardon?
If it was our intention, we would bring that before zoning.
Okay, so you would come back and put it before zoning for a site plan review?
Or
Okay.
planning or whatever. it would
Okay,
require.
all right, I just want to clarify that that is not your intention, and that you understand that in the future if it was. Okay, thank you.
I do have one quick question, because you did mention special events. Is that maybe this is a question for Mr. Gillen-Schwartz, is that a special permit, or, because I don't see that anywhere in special conditions? Is that a permit for special events, for maybe like a tent?
Maybe the applicant can comment on how they've handled that in the past.
I think what we're proposing to do is to have the ability, not on a day-to-day basis, but only for a booked special event, primarily weddings, when somebody who is being married wants to have a champagne toast out on the front
Okay.
lawn. That's what we're seeking to do, not to have general service available on the outside.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is it's not in the special conditions, but the applicant was bringing that up. So I wanted to make sure that we're clear and it's clarified possibly on the special conditions if we need to have that.
I think it
Well, and
should,
also, I'm sorry, just to add to that, and also that if it's going to be served, if it's for the wedding, you don't anticipate having any other drinks but a toast?
Well, no,
Okay.
as it stands right now, wedding guests are allowed to bring their own liquor
Sure.
for weddings, and we serve them. It's rare and almost never that happens,
Okay.
but we still want to have the ability, still have that.
No, I just think we want to make sure that we're clear on all of the conditions for the approval process.
Do we need to add that as far as a special condition?
I think it would be wise to do that
Okay.
if that's the proposal and council's okay with
I'm honestly
boundary.
fine with that.
Okay.
I just wanted to make
Prefer-
sure that
yeah.
we're clear
We would be
with all of
fine
our special conditions.
with a limitation that says no outdoor sales or service except in conjunction with.
It does say something in here about a cocktail-type alcohol, but you're looking at champagne wine.
No, no, I don't.
What, the special
That's-
condition in the resolution, one of the things discussed is just to confirm that the sale and service is going to be limited to indoors, so that they're not going to have a cocktail server or an outdoor bar under this current license structure, and they understand if they want to propose something like that, they'd have to go to the board for that. So what we're talking about is, historically, it sounds like they've had these special events. They're not planning to do that every day. I think Mr. Silver mentioned 8 to 10 or something like that. but-
I think historically, we've had well under a dozen. a
Sure,
year.
yeah, and I'm not, I just,
I think I know what you're saying. Where it says cocktail service, that would be, we will not generally every day have that, but if we have a special event, then we would be allowed to serve
Right.
the guests outside during those special events. That's
and
what the
I'm
request
just
is.
not sure it's clear in the special conditions. Do we need to add that, is what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know how.
And the discussion really should hone in on what council is comfortable with, the boundaries of that should be. You know, I don't know if, usually things like hours of the day and things like that, you
Sure.
know, no longer than this hour of the day, no later than
So
9
for a
o'clock or
special-
whatever it is. And maybe Mr. Gagliardi can explain to council how those events typically function, and that might serve as a barometer for that.
Yes, so typically we have our weddings during the day, so it doesn't interfere with our dinner hour. So it's usually an 11 o'clock ceremony, maybe a 12 o'clock cocktail hour, and then typically dinner inside till 4. They're usually wrapped up by 4 p.m. so that we can prepare for dinner. But occasionally, we will have some small weddings in the Peter Shields that may be a 3 to 7, but they're typically inside for dinner.
Sure.
Again, it's very rare that anybody has anything outside. Honestly, I can't remember one, but I'm sure we've had one where somebody had maybe a small bar set up and a cocktail hour outside.
So just to hone in on that, if the later stuff is happening inside, I don't even think we need to address that because the inside's going to be licensed.
Right.
But it sounds like any special event type of thing on the outdoor sounds like it's going to be limited to no later than 4 p.m. Is that fair to say, Mr.
I think
Gagliardi?
we prefer 6 PM.
Say- okay,
to have
clo-
flexibility.
Okay.
Yeah, for the cleanup and those type things, yeah. But typically, we try to get people out by dinner hour.
Because ultimately that then, like you said, that runs into your dinner hour, right? It's for the restaurant. So would you be proposing a 6 p.m. limitation on that to council? Is that workable for you? And is that,
I mean, if that's what's necessary, I prefer a little bit later, only to have that flexibility of like 9 o'clock. Yeah, just for flexibility, again, it's rare. It doesn't get dark till a little bit later in the summer, but it's,
You're having an event, and then you envision still having people out there having cocktails after the event. I'm just trying to understand what we're,
As
what,
part of the event, I mean.
As part of the
After the event, the event's still
They go
going on,
inside.
so.
And they go inside at that point.
okay, so they go, let me just put a scenario to you. You start the event, they go inside, they eat. They come outside and they want to have cocktails. It's now 7 o'clock. Are you proposing, just so we're clear, that you would anticipate that maybe you would like to have that available to the guest?
are you talking about an after party?
I'm talking about, it's still within the scope of the event, but yes, you know, they were inside eating dinner and now they want to go outside and continue to have some cocktails after dinner.
No, I'm not, because
Okay.
anything that we would have, that if it went to the inside, we would break down everything on the outside. And it
all
would
right.
just, again, it would interfere with our dinner guests.
Okay, all right. So, but you are asking for it to be considered to be later than 6 PM?
I would ask for it, yes. I don't know that that'll ever happen, but it's nice to have.
Okay.
My thinking is, I think we're too caught up in weddings. Say if we had a corporate event there, outside dinner with a dozen or more people, I mean, I would say that's a small outside.
Right, right,
Might be at dinner time.
right.
I don't want to restrict you from doing what other people in our town lawns are doing, you know?
Right.
The events are primarily weddings, but they're always
Well, like-
pre-booked.
Well, and that could be pre-booked also.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, Shane. And that's why I say if we could, I would prefer, like, if you said 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock would be fabulous, to have that leeway and the cushion.
Because we allow outside events, outside music from 9 o'clock.
Is everyone okay with 8 o'clock? Just to, yeah.
Sure, I mean, they would have that ability right now if they were, the renters were bringing their own alcohol in. You could do it to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. So, yeah, I don't think we should make that too constraining.
So, Mr. Solicitor, do you have a suggestion on special conditions, given that conversation?
Just to provide clarity to what we're talking about and put some guardrails on it, I would propose this. The applicant proposes this would just be added towards the end. The applicant proposes to continue its historic practice of conducting special events for life celebratory events and proposes limited use of the outdoor lawn not to exceed 12 events per year. Such service may be permitted subject to the limitation that any outdoor service would conclude at 8 PM.
Lenny, does that work?
I prefer 9 if you'll give it to me, but
Is council okay with 9 PM?
I would only approve 9 o'clock if you were to put some seasonal restrictions on it. I would only approve 9 o'clock if we put seasonal restrictions on it. Because we don't want music and events going on 9 o'clock in January. Or I mean, even if it's a nice day in December, you know.
He's, right now, again, he's got the ability to do that.
You're right, Mike.
He's got the ability to do it. If they bring their own alcohol, they can do it till 9 o'clock.
And in this, it talks about live music being confined to be between 12 noon and 9 PM. I'm just saying there could be 9 PM being a bit of a consistent number.
Being state, yeah,
Time, rather.
consistent with that.
I agree.
And historically, I think everybody here knows we've never had events that have become an issue or allowed, or bans or things like that. It's just not.
We're dealing with someone that already has a history. We understand
Yeah,
that.
so there's none, we just don't have any of that.
We're trying to make it more uniform.
I appreciate that.
Frankly, I think we'd all agree that Peter Shields has a great reputation, and so it counts for me personally. So straw poll, is that where we're at 9 PM, or?
12 with a number limitation and a time frame limitation.
Is everyone comfortable with that?
Should we have a start time? Because, I don't know.
It's, well, consistent with the other, it's 12.
Well, it's 12, yeah, but somebody had said 11 o'clock earlier.
Well, no,
That's why.
I said our ceremonies start at 11.
Okay,
And then if they were to have a cocktail hour.
so 12 till 9?
12.
12, okay.
So 12 noon to
12
9.
noon, yeah, I just think that we should keep it consistent and have
Do
a
no
start time.
earlier than 12 noon and no later than 9 PM.
Do you want to read us that back one more time?
The applicant proposes to continue its historic practice of conducting special events for life celebratory events. Proposes limited use of the outdoor lawn not to exceed 12 events per year. Such service may be permitted subject to the limitation that any outdoor service would be limited to no earlier than 12 noon and no later than 9 PM.
You're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. And council, everyone's okay with that? Okay. Any other questions other than that, council?
No.
I don't see public comment on the agenda, but obviously every resolution would normally have public comments.
We should open it for public comment.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak on this resolution? And actually, let me ask this, Solicitor, just as a point of order. Should we introduce the resolution at this point?
No, we could just discuss it. I would just consider this a
Just-
hearing portion.
This is still,
Should council, I'm sorry, motion to amend the resolution to add that special condition?
let's hear from the
I
public.
don't think we have to. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can, that's potentially on the table, and that's something that public.
Let's hear from the
discuss.
public. Anyone wishing to speak on this resolution, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Jules Rouse, 1010 New York Avenue. Just a couple of clarifications. This is a consumption basically inside. Does that mean that someone can order a drink and take it out to the outside dining or the outside patio area?
I believe that
Yes.
that allows that, yes.
And that is what they do now. They can bring their own liquor and
But
take it outside.
You're saying that they can come in and order a drink inside, then carry it outside and go down to the patio area?
That is correct.
And I assume that by that, you also mean that someone can continue to bring their own alcohol with them and use the outside patio area for their own entertainment?
You mean a guest?
I'm sorry?
A guest?
And no,
Like an in-guest?
well, a guest that is staying there
Right.
could, again, in addition to consuming alcohol inside, they could bring their own and go outside
If-
to the patio.
If permitted by the license holder.
Well, is it your proposal to allow that to happen? That's the question.
Yes, the in-guests will still be allowed to bring their own whatever it is, wine, and drink it at in the patio, on the patio like they do now.
I assume everyone understands my question. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak, please come to the microphone.
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. I just want to make this is a residential area. There are homes right across the street, so I think we have to make sure we're aware of the neighbors' right to peace and quiet. My question is, we're saying there's only so many events, but we never got into how many bars are going to be outside. Are they going to be inside? Are you going to have like 3 bars outside? Because I think that makes a difference on how it's being served.
I think that we're seeking to have the flexibility to either bring alcoholic beverages from the inside to the outside, or to have a portable bar brought outside.
Okay, so just like 1 bar, not a couple bars.
Yeah, correct. The patio isn't large enough to handle that many people that you would need more than one bar.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to have it on the lawn or where you
Oh.
were having, that's my question.
Right.
I wasn't sure where the bar would be located. It would be by the patio, the new one with the gas
Yeah, it would never
fireplace,
be,
or it would be on the lawn?
it would never be more than one bar,
No,
one
okay.
small bar.
Mr. Gagliardi, would you propose that as an additional condition? Limiting it to one rollout bar?
Certainly.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll close public comment on this resolution. Council, do I have a motion on this that's where we're at, right?
We need to add it.
We need to add the last,
I'll make a motion to add those amendments,
Okay, thank you.
including the condition that was just agreed upon by the applicant.
Okay, so, Mr. Solicitor, do you have proposed language for the singular bar?
Yeah, everything that I just said before, and then after that, just add, the licensee will be limited to one rollout bar.
And you're okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
All right, do I have a motion to amend with those amendments?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll se-
Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
yes,
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mulk?
Yes, do I have a motion on the amended resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments further, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mulk?
Yes, and I appreciate the flexibility, and again, your reputation means a lot to me historically, so we know you do a very nice job at the restaurant, and we appreciate it, so thank you.
Yes,
Have a
sir.
good evening.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, on to ordinances for introduction.
Yes, we have 546-2024, an ordinance amending 434 of the city code to establish limits on city recycling collection and require private collection for amounts exceeding those limits.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I know our superintendent, Eric Brzezinski, is here with us. Do you want to come on up? And I know our city manager, Paul Dietrich, wanted to give a little explanation.
Sure, so.
That is right, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Okay, sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
No, I was just watching the screen behind you as Aaron was getting the presentation up.
Very close. But feel free to start.
Did you want me to briefly describe what the ordinance says before we went through the presentation, or do you want because Eric kind of went through a lot of this before, but I didn't know if you wanted me to give a little brief synopsis of what we're proposing to do, and then that'll kind of put in context what Eric is looking to do.
Your recommendation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So obviously, when we were last year at council and we were discussing the idea, and Eric brought this, and this has really been something that we've been discussing at the staff level for almost a year, going back and forth.
Maybe a little longer.
A little bit longer. And Eric and his team did a great job, kind of monitoring different establishments throughout the city, starting in the wintertime, rolling through spring, summer, early part of summer, through the height of summer, to really get a good gauge so that, that was one of the things we had the discussion on is, hey, let's get a good feel for what type of establishments, especially on the commercial side, how much trash and recycling are they generating, and and where do we find that break point? So we kind of have the ordinances listed in two sections because we do have a requirement in section 434, section 15 for residential dwelling compliance, and then 434-16 commercial establishment compliance. And really on the residential side, this is not to curtail a typical residential property. If you're a single-family property owner, whether this is your primary residence or your vacation second home, this is not to regulate the recycling out of those homes. It's looking at the larger commercial properties, whether it's a multifamily property, some of the condo converted properties that have 4, 5, 100 residential units. It's to collect those as a collection. And then obviously the commercial properties. Both of those sections are looking to limit the amount of recycling that's collected to 2 96-gallon cans, which equates to 192 gallons. As we update I'll say the city's rules and regulations, there'll be also some stipulations that, some places put out, I'll say bundled cardboard, that we'll look at, a volumetric, dimensional number of what that 192 gallons equates to in, I'll say, cubic feet, just so that we have
Which
that.
I have those calculations.
And we have those.
Yes.
So, we'll add that into like the rule as we update some of our rules and regulations, so it makes it a little clearer in understanding. But I think we can go through this presentation now and kind of get a better feel for what Public Works is dealing with on a week-by-week, day-to-day basis.
So, here's a prime example. So for instance, that bottom right-hand picture, it's hard to gauge that one because we're lucky enough that all those businesses along that stretch put it all in one location for us. So it's not all over the promenade. But, the other ones are like prime examples that, nothing's bundled or tied. So windy day, all that stuff's all over the street. So, this is, to give somebody an example for what 96 gallons of cardboard looks like, you're looking at 48 inches by 36 inches by 28 inches high. That's a 96-gallon can of cardboard. So, the bottom left-hand picture, that's pretty much filling a truck up. So the truck will have to fill, go dump, and then come right back out to the route.
Can I ask a quick question? Are all 4 of these pictures commercial
Yes.
properties? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, here in the city, taken this season.
Yes. So these are all commercial, these are all commercial examples. If you go to the next, again, I mean, we have, we dedicate our streets to be beautiful. I mean, that's an eyesore, to my opinion, it's an eyesore. It's blown all over the place. Again, this is another commercial spot.
And this is one, you can go back to that, that's not 2 pictures of 2 different locations?
That's one location.
That's one location. If you kind of pick that up, I believe
It's
it's
a continuation of the picture,
continuation of that same pile. You can kind of see the cardboard boxes are the same cardboard. I just wanted to, if you kind of zoom by real quick, you might think that was 2 different examples, but that was one location.
Yes, one location. Here's like another example. Now, luckily, it's all bundled and tied up nice and neat, but again, picture that pile and then pulling the truck up next to it. That is physically filling a 20-yard dump truck, recycle truck up.
And Eric, I don't want to interrupt. I had the opportunity to go out with Eric and Mariah and do a ride around for about 2 hours on a windy day. And many of these boxes were in the street, blocking traffic, and required Eric to get out and get them onto the side. The other part of this is it's just a visual. You're driving down the street, you're coming into beautiful Victorian Cape May. And the third point is, this screams to me safety and workers' comp, because that means somebody's getting out of the truck and needs to load all of this in. That means bending over to do so, because there's no other means for them to do so. So those were really the things that I took away from it and what Eric and I discussed.
And to further what you just said, no commercial recycling company would accept something like this. You have to put it all in a big dumpster. Then one person driving that truck is going to lift that dumpster
Correct.
and put it in, that
Correct.
one person.
Correct.
They wouldn't accept a big bundle of junk at the
No.
curb.
No.
They wouldn't pick it up, right. And one of the reasons, of course, is the labor, the manpower, and yes, the injuries that could potentially happen.
Correct. And, going back to the other picture that we had up, like right there. So right there, besides the safety part of, workman's comp and the cleanliness, that's a sidewalk for somebody to walk on.
Right.
How they walk it on that sidewalk.
I just reiterate, there's no commercial recycling company that you would hire that would pick that up.
Not even picking up all those cans as well.
Right.
Those cans will be all in a dumpster.
And how that is solved when you do it on the commercial, they have multiple pickups. So when you have that much volume, you might have twice a week or 3 times a week
Correct.
collection, and that's part of operating a commercial business, not an obligation for the city to collect as part of its process. And that's really what we're making why we're making that recommendation, is that distinction between those 2.
So, again, here's going back to the next picture, Aaron, I'm sorry. There's one of the main stops that, Councilwoman Dayton and I had to hop out of the car, because half of that was actually on the other side of the cans in the street. And we had to stop and pick it up and put it to the side. The right-hand side, you're looking at the right-hand side, you got what, 3, 6, 9, 12, probably about 14 cans of, 48-gallon cans, 32, even if you say they're 32-gallon cans, there's 14 cans there. And I can tell you, each one of them cans probably weigh about 200 pounds. And those cans cannot be lifted with the one tipper truck, that has the one that takes the toters. That would have to be tipped by the other truck that we have, which is a universal tipper that grabs all the has every can. There's another spot that we cleaned up on the street. So, again, like City Manager Dietrich was saying, we're looking to do, all properties will be allowed 2 96-gallon cans or 192 gallons total pickup. Again, we're not saying you have to have 2 96-gallon cans. It could be, 192 cans totaled in cans and cardboard. Like I said, 48 by 36 by 28 inches high is a little more than 12 cubic feet. The real measure was like 46 and a half by, so I just rounded up to make it an even number. So, a 96-gallon tote, think about, 4 foot by 3 foot wide, 28 inches high, is basically that can laying on its side. So, that's pretty much, that can right there is a 48-gallon can, to be honest. Because the 96 had the metal bar in it. So, and if you go to the next slide, again, we're not saying everybody has to have the toter cans, a nice closed bin, like all the cans must have a secure lid. So we don't have, that one stop had 14 cans out with no lids on them. They tip over, that's a mess.
Yeah, on a windy day, these are, I know that in some neighborhoods, it's all over the street or all over the neighbor's property, so.
So this is, like I said, example of cans that, are acceptable, like, again, we'll accept any can that you put out as long as it's got a lid on it, and.
Because there are some, people, elderly residents sometimes can't do the bigger trash can, but certainly a small tote with a lid from Walmart or something.
So, and again, we're looking to have all cardboard must be contained, bundled, or tied.
What about if it's in the can itself? I thought we had mixed recycling.
So we do have mixed, so if they put it in the can, it's fine, it's contained. Yeah, yes.
doesn't blow away.
Yeah, it doesn't blow away. So like, if you go back to that big section of, that big one, like that, I would consider that bundled and tied up. Like if you go forward now, Aaron, I'm sorry, like that I would say is not bundled and tied up.
And not in a can.
And not in a can.
But a large, I'm just, like, as Mr. Meyer said, to be clear, a large majority of the folks are already doing this. They simply
Correct.
put their paper products, cardboard in with their recycling
Yeah.
can, and just like I do with,
Yeah.
aluminum cans, and, right.
Can I ask a few questions, Mayor?
Oh, yeah, please,
So,
sorry.
I fully get it. The commercial, absolutely. The area that I'm a little bit concerned with is the residential. And I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, the residential is under 43415, and it talks about the weekly allocation will be provided on a per property basis, not a per unit basis. So if you have a multi-unit building, they're not going to be combined. So let's say you have a 5-unit building, they still just get 2 96-gallon cans.
Right.
Okay. My concern with, I have a few concerns with that, because if it's going to be intermittent, you have your, your people going around picking things up. If they exceed that 2 per, then, every once in a while they do here and there, we're going to end up with trash all over the city. That's my first thing. But then, even more so to that, I take a look at some of these, like the Lamplighter. They're all residential people that live down there.
How many?
I think there's like 8 units there. You also take a look at even like a quad. That's considered a multi-unit.
Actually, the quads, because they're individually owned properties, they're not a condo
Well,
association.
each one of the Lamplighters is individually owned
No,
as well.
but that's a condo association, so therefore they have an association that groups them together as one.
I don't know if I'm comfortable with, though, doing that to residents like that.
Well, to go along with what you're saying, across the street from Lamplighter is
Is the
a
Washington
large
Commons.
building. Oh, no, let's say the large house that's broken up into apartments.
Right.
I mean, where do we fit into Coast Guard base in this? These are year-round residents and.
Coast Guard gets picked up separate. We don't pick up Coast
Right.
Guard.
Okay,
Correct.
good to know.
Correct.
And the other thing that we also have to remember is, we have a recycling center at the Public Works Yard. So as people, like you said, on occasion, if, hey, most of the weeks, they comply, they're putting out 2 containers and they're fine. Hey, that one weekend, they they have a little birthday party, so they have that extra can. That's one reason why, we made sure that all of the days would be open at the recycling center, so that you can bring that recycling up to the recycling center and dispose of it at your convenience.
And there is a handful of businesses that already, we don't even pick up their cans out on the street,
Yeah,
because
the
they bring them
commercial
up,
can
they
sit.
bring them up themselves.
So Eric, say a week after Christmas and everybody's recycling's on the street, okay, and a household has 3 96-gallon cans, or the equivalent to, because they have so many boxes and et cetera, et cetera. Is your staff going to pick up 2 of those 3 cans, or to say, you have too much, I'm just going to keep driving by?
Well, the ordinance would say you're allowed 2 cans, so I would instruct them
All over the city.
I would,
I think if you're talking, if you're saying a single-family residence, the week after Christmas has that extra can out there, I think that we're going to probably say, hey, discretionally,
Yes,
we're going to pick
and-
that up. I think that the intent was to look at the ones that, the larger homes that have multiple units in them, that, if it's a multiple unit, whether it's operating as, whether it's getting their mercantile license because they have short-term rentals in there, so they have a larger volume, or all those different aspects of why you have that. But I think we can all, I think if you all look at what you normally put out for recycling on a weekly basis, personally, I have a rental place at my place, and then during the summer, at most, I'm putting out 3 40-gallon cans, and I have 2 units putting out, and I'm only putting out 3 45 gallons. So that's, we're talking about this ordinance, it says 296 or 2 45s. You really would have to have, you're probably looking at 3 units or more, and at that point, that's a commercial multifamily establishment that we should be regulating as a commercial operation, and it's got to be handled differently because of the pure volume. If they want to work at, if we want to look at doing something, they want to get a dumpster and have dumpster, because that's what usually happens on larger multifamily properties. They end up having dumpsters to pick up because they realize that it's just too big to put out that many cans out to the curbside. You also have to look at, this is the public perception, look at those pictures. During the summer, do we want to see that much containerage
Yeah, I don't.
along the roads?
But again, that's
So-
why I asked it, was it commercial? And all of that was commercial.
Yeah, so
But I think we could, but I think that same issue is, if a multifamily property at that point is acting like a commercial business and needs to be treated like that, and they need to.
What
you
about-
could
so
put
what-
put an
What about the ones that are
allowance.
not multifamily?
yeah, I
you
want
could-
to, is there a legal
You could
definition?
put, there's definitely some arbitrary, I don't think unreasonable, but there's arbitrary line drawing here. So, but one of the things to address the deputy mayor's point is, the distinction from those photos, to me, looks like the distinction between residential and commercial recycling, the volume that's generated. Now, if you get a 80-unit condominium complex, it's going to start to look more commercial. But what if it's under 8
I'm
units?
saying, let's do a cap on it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
And that
exactly.
is there a sweet spot, or at least the idea of a sweet spot between, maybe it's 2 units to 8 units, and then maybe you get 2 more cans? It's not you get everything and you fill up the curb, but maybe you get an additional 2 cans to at least capture some of the more residential-like properties and still keep them distinct from the commercial pickup.
So Eric, would your team be able to manage, having an inventory? If we were to say that residential falls into this window and identifying those properties that fall between, 2 to 8 units, but no more?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
You know,
I mean,
He's doing
I think the way Chris described it, if,
Yeah.
want to make sure if we're putting something in as a condition.
Sure.
That if we're putting something in as a condition, that he's able to execute on it.
I think if you look at B1 and how it's written, the second to last sentence, it says, for example, the allocation of multi-unit buildings, multi-unit dwellings, condos, or commercial properties will not be multiplied by the number of units at a particular property for any amounts generated in excess of these limits. These properties were responsible. We could add a exception in there and say that if you are a multiple unit property within that range, you will receive an additional, maybe 2 additional cans, so almost doubling that. So I think that would be a
Putting in the number of
Correct.
units,
putting
I
in
think,
and
is also helpful.
creating
Yeah.
a number of units,
Yep.
to say, hey, you're going to go up to, whether it's 4 to 5 units of, of a property,
Mm-hmm.
because
And maybe it's excluding those mixed-use buildings too. It's really the purely multi-unit residential
Residential,
properties
yes.
Correct.
of a certain unit, limit. So I don't know if it's 8 but it's definitely 2. It's 2 to whatever council thinks is appropriate.
I think 8 is a good number.
I think we need to, where my brain's going right now is thinking that we just do the commercial now. And then we really, because I know you gave us a great breakout, Eric, where some of those multi-units
Yes.
were in that, in the collection days. And I have that,
but we have,
here, I think.
but we have a lot of the bigger,
I could simplify this even further, I think.
Okay.
If we just say that if it's multi-unit of any unit amount, which if you're an 80-unit condominium, you may get 4 cans instead of 2. I mean, is that going to break
I don't know if
backs?
we want to do like an 80-unit condominium.
yeah, but if they can put out, I think what Chris is saying is, if we say, hey, if you're a multi-unit, we'll pick up 4 cans. So in other words, essentially, if you're a multi-family residential property, we'll double your normal allocation. So instead of it being at 2 96 gallons, you get 4 96 gallons. I think that's what Chris is saying.
Right, and then we avoid
And
having,
regardless if you
simplifies it
if you
that
have
way.
a 3-unit, a 6-unit, or a 10-unit,
Yep.
if you have a 10-unit property and you're only put out on average 4 cans, we'll pick you up. But if you start routinely saying, hey, every week I'm putting out 8 cans, sorry, we're not. You're
I
now.
think it simplifies it, because then it becomes, it's at their discretion to figure out whether or not they fit the threshold or not.
So what's the starting point?
But then we also need to have a caveat in here, like if they've exceeded that quota for 2 months, then they're going to be notified and they have to then get.
That'll be in the rules and regulations. That'll be the ordinance will have the stipulation, and then.
But then, if you're saying you're not going to pick up additional, recycling, then we're going to end up with trash.
No, what happens is that, no,
No,
I'm sorry.
so-
The drivers notify Mariah, I figured out
Yeah.
the whole process that day. They call and let her know that they have somebody who's left it out on the street more than the allotted units, and then she follows up as the recyclable.
But we're going to pick it. We're going to pick it up that time. We're not.
We're going to pick it up that time. We're not
We're
going to
gonna-
leave it stranded on the side of the road. Like,
Until
at that point, the truck will, reach into the office to Mariah, who's our recycle coordinator. She'll send them a letter saying, hey, you exceeded your allotment. We picked you up this time, but you have to either
Make arrangements.
confine with the ordinance or make other arrangements for pickup.
And we'll
going
give them,
forward.
And we'll give them time, it's like, maybe if it's not the next pickup, but we'll say, hey, as of, like if it's we're October 1st,
Yeah.
by the collection on October 15th,
I would say we'd be comfortable doing a 30-day window for that, like to give a 30-day notice, like that you had to comply with in the 30 days.
Yeah, they have 4 pickups.
But-
You guys know what you're seeing.
but we don't need to, that nuance of how that happens, that can be within our rules and regulations as, that Eric can manage.
Sure.
How he manages the department. This is the nuance of
What's the allotment?
what's the limit?
Okay.
Any other
Back to my
questions?
question I said before, though, we said, you know, if we want to increase the amount of recycling containers, where do we start at? 3 units? 4
Well,
units?
well, we're not going to,
Two.
we're just,
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, if you're a multifamily, in other words, it's 296 gallons, but if you have a multifamily, so that's meaning if you have a duplex
Or greater.
or greater, that's where you'll start.
Okay, fine with that.
So that's a multifamily, anything.
It's just being introduced tonight, so
Right, it's time to
we
work
can
on
take a look at it and think about it, yeah.
So is everyone in agreement on that residential multi-unit amendment to this?
I can propose some language to
Could
that
you,
effect.
could you propose that?
It would just be in B1 after the first sentence with the 296 gallon, 192 gallons. It would say, multi-unit residential properties are permitted no more than 4 96 gallon cans or up to 384 gallons total for city collection per week.
Correct.
And again, that would exclude the commercial properties, and mixed-use properties would still be under the 96, the
The
296
residential,
gallon.
the allotment
So
of,
all other properties are subject to the original language.
Okay. So do I have a motion on the amendment to the ordinance?
I'll make a motion on the amendment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes. Do I have a motion on the amended ordinance?
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Before we jump into that, and not to overcomplicate this anymore, but one other discussion item that I think Councilwoman McDade and I discussed, Wildwood has this example of increasing their pickups at the end of the boardwalks in the summer, so they require 2 pickups per week. Eric, is that something that council may want to consider in certain areas of town here? Are you prepared to discuss that, or you want to think about it?
I know we tried that in the past, and then we had a lot of pushback, and this is going back to Joe Picard's time, when we used to pick up the mall. We used to pick up the mall on Mondays and then on Thursdays. And we got pushback from a lot of other businesses. Well, how come the mall gets 2 pickups, we don't get 2
Same.
pickups? So they stopped it
Okay.
because of that reason.
So you think putting a cap on the city's public pickup of the pictures we were showing is going to have the effect of corralling some of the collection sites that?
So I know,
What are you saying?
I know Wildwood, like what you're referring to, Wildwood has different spots along the boardwalk. I believe, I'm not 100% sure exactly what streets, but I know on Oak Avenue, they have a cardboard compactor right there at the end of the boardwalk. All the businesses in that block take it to the compactor, and then they have it so on, so on. Again, using Wildwood as an example, this is where I came up with all this. If in Wildwood, if they exceeded the limits, they had to hire a contractor to pick up on property,
Right.
not curbside. So,
So I think, Mr. Gillenschwartz, I think we would have a lot of the properties asking for, everyone would want twice a week pickup to get out of having to go to a commercial contractor, perhaps.
I think I was more pointing not to the city picking up, but
Right.
if the amount of trash or recycling that's generated in certain areas of town requires more collection.
From the commercial vendors?
Yeah, for anybody that's generating,
So that's just volume on the street, that's just volume coming into the city and putting it out twice a week as opposed to, yeah.
Well, I think anybody that puts collection out has to be collected that day. Like, so if they're putting it out and their private hauler's going to come on a
Thursday,
Tuesday,
right.
they've got to collect it on that Tuesday. And if it's still sitting out because they didn't pick it all up, then, we just have to make sure our code enforcement is.
I think what
is
Mr.
on the
Gillenschwartz
spot.
is suggesting is that they're going to put out what they have from the weekend for Tuesday, and then they may make arrangements for a Friday pickup again.
correct.
So,
And
I mean,
there is a couple of businesses around that do that
Yeah.
already.
I don't, yeah, I mean, I don't
And
see
one
any reason.
of those businesses is up on the promenade, and I think that's what it's referring to, because I know a lot of the times when there's events going on the promenade, they got a pile of cardboard and cans out right in the loading zone.
I don't see why, I mean, if you have a commercial contract as a commercial owner or business owner, if you wanted to make that arrangement and you had a vendor that was willing to do it, as long as you were conforming with when you were putting it out. It's not like it goes out on Tuesday and it just sits out there. So, I mean, I think that if the, business was able to make that arrangement and feels that that suits their business volume and their needs to be able to keep it going, they probably don't have any place to store that much anyway, which is
Correct.
may be why some of it looks the way it looks. So I wouldn't have a problem with allowing them to make that discretion decision.
And I'm not looking to propose more government regulation
Yeah.
where none is required either. But just to, it sounds like maybe just the dividing line between private collection may have its own impact on some of the things out there too.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it's going to be more traffic coming in, and there's going to be more volume out consistently through the week. We've talked about that, but at least it would probably look better managed than it does currently. So, I mean, I think I'd be okay with that.
I have a quick question. In the yard that you have, are businesses allowed to come and?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
If they don't have a sticker or anything like
And
that.
there's,
they
and
can
there's
just-
no limit on that?
Nope.
Okay.
Like I said, I have at least a half dozen, I can name right off the top of the head, that comes in with pickup trucks full.
Like, the one photo to me looked like a lot of furniture or something. It was like all the same boxes, it looked like maybe outside of a hotel or whatever. I've multiple times pulled my pickup truck in, which you can usually get a lot closer than the curb, filled it up, brought it right down to the, 5 minutes to
And
Canning House Lane, and
Last time I here, I asked for council to give the approval to open the recycle yard on Wednesdays,
Yep.
because as of next month, it usually closes on
Right.
Wednesdays.
yeah,
So,
that's great.
I'm there probably twice a week.
so it's a nice feature to have for the resident and commercial businesses to, have the access to, the yard on Wednesdays.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the amended ordinance. Any other questions, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
And I think
Thanks,
it
Eric.
goes without saying, but we appreciate all the hard work. Thank you. Okay, on to, what are we on to?
Yes.
Sorry,
We have ordinances for second reading and consideration for adoption.
thank you.
We have ordinance 543-2024, ordinance amending Chapter 310 of the Code of the City of Cape May regarding licensing fees.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And
Oh,
there's a public hearing tonight, and I actually have a question based off of the action that council just took. In this ordinance, we identified trash haulers as needing mercantile licenses. Should we now include trash and recycling haulers?
Wouldn't that be one?
And is that substantial? We splitting hairs? Is it, because
They're-
somebody's going to say, well,
they're
I do
one and the-
recycling,
Yeah,
not
I-
trash.
They're one and the same.
I don't think there's one that doesn't do the other. So
Because there's already plenty of recycling haulers in Cape May.
yeah.
They're the same people.
The same.
Yeah,
I'm fine with a clarification to that.
Only
it's
because I know
trash.
somebody's going to tell me that says trash, I do recycling.
Well, if you ask me, they're not exempt. So I think we can just update that to confirm that that was council's intent.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
where would we update that?
Number
Number
27,
27 on page 3.
the last one on the list.
Trash and recycling haulers?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, fine.
Or waste.
Waste hauler.
Tomato, tomato.
No one says tomato. I know potato, that's it.
Okay. We have a motion, and do we have a motion? A second. We'll open it up to public comment, pardon me, on ordinance 543, 2024. Is anyone here wishing to speak on that? Mr. Roush?
Jules Rouse, 1010 New York Avenue. I'd like to make a suggestion on number 11, where you talk to, actually 11 and 12, that you add to that a compliance inspection by July 1st of each year.
This is a fee ordinance, not to show that the compliance, and we regularly do compliance inspections, so you wouldn't put that kind of stipulation in a fee ordinance to require the city to go do an inspection?
Okay. My suggestion is that it be added somewhere within the ordinance structure that actually calls for an inspection and an account of the actual seating on no later than July 1st of each year.
I think I've reported that we do it, but
Code
point
enforcement
taken.
does complete them. It's
We,
just
I
throughout the
I
summer.
agree with you, but I also agree it probably shouldn't be in the fee ordinance. I don't, if anyone else wants to comment.
I agree, it shouldn't, it's not relevant
More
for
of a
this.
regulation.
It's more, yeah, it's process operations, and
Operations.
I don't know if there's an ordinance, Mr. Gillen Schwartz, that is anywhere in that realm.
I mean, I'm sure we could find a place, but it's not, it's kind of outside of.
It's outside of this discussion. Yeah,
I think
it's
your
not-
point's
doesn't
taken,
belong
Mr.
here.
Roush, and the manager indicates that those are being done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roush. Anyone else wishing to speak on ordinance 543? Seeing,
Yeah. Thank you.
oh,
for
thank
that,
you. Yeah.
Because that addresses what, both 543 and 544, so I'm comfortable. Thank you for your work.
Okay, so we'll close public comment. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments, council? Okay, roll call?
Are we motioning to amend to add recycling?
No, we're not including
We're
that.
just doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then in that case, Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes?
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
Next, we have 544-2024, or ordinance amending Chapter 211 of the Code of the City of Cape May regarding development fees.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a public
Hearing.
hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on 544, please come to the microphone, state your name and address. Anyone here wishing to speak on 544? Seeing none, we can close public comment. Any questions or comments, council?
No, the only comment I'll make is, we did present this as requested from, I think, a meeting, 2 meetings ago. And Mr. Crowley presented it to the committee, and Dennis did a really nice job in laying it out, and commended the city manager for undertaking the exercise, and said that it was very much in the spirit of what M-Track would have done if they had undertaken it themselves. So very pleased. I think M-Track was very pleased with the fact that this was clearly an exercise that was showing progress in reviewing fees and being done in a very objective manner.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, roll call?
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes?
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
Finally, we have 545-2024, an ordinance amending Chapter 7 of the Code of the City of Cape May regarding driveway line striping.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
We have a public hearing on this. Anyone wishing to speak on 554, please come to the microphone. Anyone wishing to speak on 545? Did I just say the wrong number before?
You did, but
Sorry.
that's okay.
Ordinance 545. This is on line striping driveways. Seeing none, we can close public comment. Any questions or comments, council?
I just noticed that the yellow stripe or painting in the photographs that Eric's employees did look pretty good.
I agree there. Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember McDade,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin,
Yes?
Mayor Mullick.
Yes.
All right, next we have the public portion on the resolutions only.
Anyone wishing to speak on resolutions this evening, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Stacy Sheehan, 928 Columbia Avenue. My first question is on Resolution 268-10. It's for sidewalk and curb installation on Elmira Street. I'm just looking to see where that is located for that sidewalk and curbing.
It was the last, about 150 feet from, from the West Cape May Bridge, to, coming into town.
Cape Island Creek Bridge.
Cape Island Creek.
What I'm saying is, it wasn't Atlantic City Electric doing that?
No, their responsibility was, for the sidewalk was only in front of their property. So the rest of it was city, city actually owns that property, so we did that in front of city-owned property.
So it's on that side, though, correct? Or is it on the other side?
No, it's on the same side as the substation, but
Okay.
they don't own all the way, the Atlantic City Electric does not own all the way up to the bridge, so they just did the sidewalk in front of their property.
Okay.
And we just were going to complete the rest of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then my other question has to do with the Resolution 269, reconstruction, of Franklin Street. Is this just from Washington to Lafayette?
Yes.
And are they redoing the curbing there, or is that curbing, I think it was already done, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. They'll be replacing some of the curbing, putting in brick gutters, brick sidewalks, and resurfacing the road.
Because I knew there was in front of Trish's house that she was keeping her stone.
Yeah, wherever there's granite, slate curbing, that would remain, yes.
Okay. Are we going to be doing this before we finish with the AME Church? Because to me, if it's still under construction, we don't really want to be doing sidewalks until that's
That'll be
complete.
it'll be coordinated with that. The work is moving along enough with the AME Church that we'll be able to coordinate that work.
Okay, so I don't want to,
Yep.
I know a lot of times with zoning, they require that after construction is completed.
We'll be able to coordinate that work.
But to your point, underground utilities and things like that were replaced before this past paving that was just done. So you should not see some patch out front of AME Church or something like that.
Okay, so this is more for the sidewalks, not so much the road.
Yeah,
Well, the roads will get resurfaced because that paving before was just I'll say temporary paving to
Okay.
get us through the summer so that
Okay. My other question has to do with the anti-scalant bid services, and I was looking at the bids that went out for it. I guess I wasn't sure, when there's an X, does that mean that they are from that country or they're not from that country? This is why I'm saying that the scalant, they were saying Russia was one of the things, and I didn't know if this anti-scalant was coming from Russia and China.
no, it's not. That's a certification that they show that they aren't buying supplies or it's not supplied from
Okay, I wasn't
Russia
sure
or Iran.
because It has an X, and I wasn't sure if that included it or not included
No,
it.
that's part of their requirements to show that they're not there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
My next question has to do with Resolution 275, the bid for boat recovery. Is this for a boat that's there now or in the future?
So this is, just like we got the bid to have tow truck services on call. Obviously, we saw the issues that we had with the latest boat that was abandoned and was sinking, and we had to scramble. We're going out to, this would allow us to have those services pre-set up and established for costs and everything, so that when that emergency arises in the future, because I'm sure it will, that if we need to remove a boat from the harbor, we're in a place to have a
Okay.
cost established to do that.
Okay, because I was talking to a boat recovery person, I don't want to get names, and they had no idea about this. So I just was wondering if we're going to reach out to these companies that do that this is available?
Well,
Because they don't usually,
This is the first step.
I know, but I'm just saying, they don't usually look at
We'll
this.
reach out to places to make sure.
And how, because each boat is different on how it's, and the size. Is this
We-
going to be based on the size of the boat with them?
It has size stipulations in there.
Okay.
Towing per foot.
Okay, because we didn't see
If you,
the bid, so that's why I was just asking this question.
it's in the specifications.
Okay. And then my last question has to do with 276, the change order to the the AME Church. And that's very extensive. It's almost $200,000 with a high percentage. where is it? Yeah, change of $196,000 increase to the bid. And I guess I'm concerned about there's a lot of changes going on inside, and that council's not improving these changes. They're only improving the change
There-
order.
That's what,
And
that's
I
what,
just wanted to
that's what council, council, that's what this does, is council approves the change order.
Okay, so my question is, first is the location of the bathroom, and they need a larger hot water heater. Are we expanding the bathroom in there?
No, it's because we needed to relocate because of the arrangement of, before the bathrooms were side to side, but as we started to look at the framing, we were going to have interruptions with some of the side stained glass windows. So in order to rearrange it so that we did not have interruptions with the stained glass windows, we needed to rearrange the locations to put them, instead of the bathrooms being back to back, they had to be moved apart. So that necessitated several of the changes of, that required, instead of having one hot water heater, we're having kind of two Insta-Hots to serve each bathroom. It required more plumbing, electrical service, and it messed up the location of the HVAC. So most of those change order requirements stem from moving the location of the bathrooms.
I guess I understand where you're coming from, but it says you're putting in a new load-bearing wall in the center, and I guess if the church itself is already open, I don't understand the need for a load-bearing wall for a bathroom expansion change.
When-
That one's probably in regard to the flexible seating. One of the things that they looked at as they were doing this was, look, any old historic property, you're going to have things that come up in the building of it, but they wanted to put, I don't know how many more piers underneath.
6 piers.
Six
So it's going to have a second floor inside then for seating, like a tier seating?
It's going to have a balcony, kind of similar to like Cape May Stage.
And this is something new that they're adding to this?
No, before that balcony continued with built-in seating, but we really wanted to have more flexibility with the seating. So like the convention hall seats that fold back into the wall, these seats will fold back into the wall so that we can have yoga classes if we're going to have a museum, pieces or something, a gallery or.
So there's going to have like metal seatings in there then, I guess?
Yes,
you're
that
saying.
fold back into the, much like convention hall.
So convention hall seating in the historic church.
Yeah.
And then my last question has to do with the AME Church. It says the change of decking. Does that mean you're doing composite decking instead of
No.
the wood?
The original plans, like on the ADA ramp, called for just pressure treated, and we missed that when we were putting out the bid, so we asked them to change that to, mahogany, an appropriate decking, just to make it look more appropriate than just to have treated lumber.
Okay. So this, the beam was not considered there before? Because I guess my concern is, if these seats come out and go back in, I don't understand the need for a new support beam going inside the church.
Well, when they're spread out, the load is spread out. When they're all stacked up in one location, sitting on top of each other, that puts more load at a concentrated point that you need to
So
structurally.
it's down. I thought the support beam was going up.
No,
But you're
no,
saying
no,
it's going
this is,
down.
this is all in the, this is all,
Okay.
this is all on the floor.
Okay.
This is all on the floor.
Okay, I thought it was going up. the
No, no,
support-
all this work is in the floor.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on resolutions this evening?
Just a quick question, dealing with 276 and 277.
Sorry, could you state your name and address?
Jules
please?
Rouse, 1010 New York Avenue. There's a bill, 08903, for $213,000. Is that the first draw on, it called for a demo.
Are you talking about, is this the bill for the AME Church for, that's their first draw, yes.
That's
So-
Welcome Center.
Or is that,
That's both.
08903, you said?
It's both
08903.
Okay.
well, there's two items. There's,
on there, right?
DKC had a project at the Welcome Center for, I think, $16,000.
And then the.
And then there's a bill for the AME Church.
Right.
213. It's for both.
But that is the, as part of the original contract.
Yes,
It's our first draw.
and that's the first draw
That's the first
on the original contract, yes.
Anyone else on resolutions this evening? Seeing none, we'll close public comment on resolutions. Council, do we have a motion on the consent, or I'm sorry, does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
I'd like to remove 268, please.
Anything else, council? City clerk, roll call.
Sure, and we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Do I have a motion? Thank
I'll
you.
make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes, and I just point out 269, which is the resolution awarding the Franklin Street reconstruction. I think that's really going to be a beautiful upgrade. That is the brick guttering. You see, when you go out on Washington Street outside here, you may notice that the guttering is where the curb, the road meets the curb, obviously where you have, storm drain flow. So that now will go around Franklin Street on both sides, brick sidewalks, a brick crosswalk, from the library to the other side of the street, gas lights. I mean, it really is a beautiful upgrade to Franklin Street, especially around the AME Church, the library. I think it'll really look nice. So I just want to thank everybody for all their work on that. On to
We are
resolution
going- Yes.
268, sorry.
26810, 2024, resolution authorizing approval of a required disclosure award to Arthur R. Henry, Inc. for sidewalk and curb installation.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments?
I'd like to tell a story, if I may, Mayor.
Sure.
So 10 years ago was my third time running for office in the city of Cape May. And one of the largest things I was running on was, when I put on Facebook, it was a mother pushing a stroller with her kids alongside on Elmira Street. She was heading into town. As you know, the road bends, and it's kind of a blind turn when you get to the bridge area. And so that was my third time running. I felt I was going to win that time, and I think some of the administration might have felt the same way. So exactly 10 years ago, before I was elected, the city manager, the city engineer, and the mayor at the time had quickly put the sidewalk in on the northeast side of that area. So if you don't remember, sidewalks on the entire road of Elmira Street, West Cape May and Cape May stopped at Venice Avenue. And so, I didn't get a chance to, relish in the success of that one side because it was done before I was even elected, in spite of me being elected. And, which was great. The success of that side of the road was awesome. We've seen reconstruction of the buildings on that side of the road. The improvements of that street is unbelievable. And then thankfully West Cape May, did their duty to fulfill their side of Cape Island Creek of that Elmira Street. Years went on, AC Electric wanted to increase the substation, so it was always in limbo whether we're going to have a sidewalk. And I just want to, give a real personal thanks to Zach Mullick, because the countless tedious meetings that he's been through with AC Electric, making sure that we get what we deserve, and with talking to him privately, he said whether it was a substation or a private house there, we'd make him put a sidewalk there anyway. And I appreciate you fighting so hard for that over the years. And, and to get almost 100% of what we wanted it done, it was still going to be that little section that this resolution is about. And you said to the manager, they're going to be here, let's get it done all at the same time, what's it going to take. And the success of that is overwhelming, and the people are so excited about the fact that they don't have to walk in the road ever again. And I think it's a big success. And unfortunately, it's again 10 years to the date since that project was started. So, we're going to have some safer people walking in our town. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank the manager and everybody else here over the last 10 years that fought hard, and Ronnie Towns from the Lancaster Electric.
Yep.
Because, every time I was at a League of Municipalities dinner, she had to hear it, and it was not, it was expected from me. So
Well, thank you, Mr. Meyer, and thank you for all your hard work and persistence on it. I mean, you think these things are small, but it takes so much work. And just so people know, we had, one of the last hurdles was we had to go through a DEP application because that's wetlands close by there. So we did get Atlantic City Electric to at least make the DEP application. They got the, approved, obviously, from their DEP application. And just a note, too, for pedestrians and bike riders, that sidewalk does curl around and go down right to down Venice and to Bank Street. So that's a whole new sidewalk on Venice as well. And the paving will start this sometime in October. I'm not sure if we have exact date, but the paving will go from the bridge to Venice, down Venice to Bank. So that'll be a nice new street as well. So really, with some bicycle, share the road reminders. So it's all good stuff. But thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Ready for roll call, council?
Do we have a motion? We had a motion and
We
a
have a
second.
motion
Roll
and a
call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes?
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
All right, so moving on to 278-10-2024, a resolution authorizing ServPro Cape May services for mold remediation at the Cape May Firehouse.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Mr. City Manager, could you give us a quick explanation?
Yes, so during the summer, we had some condensate leaks throughout the building. The mechanical subcontractor came in and worked with our architect to try to determine what the cause of the problem, and we were attempting to work with, and he came in fairly responsively and worked to correct the issues so that we didn't have any more problems throughout the rest of the summer, or I'll say the latter stages of the summer. And when it came back to trying to get the prime contractor to follow through and make the final remediation steps and cleanup steps, we worked with the architect, our missile solicitor, Chris Gillenschwartz, on process and went through different notifications on giving them notice of, hey, we think there's a problem. Hey, we need you to get out here. If you don't get out here, we're going to go to get it tested. No response. We went out and got it tested. We said, okay, now you got to fix the problem. No response. So here we're having an emergency resolution to correct the response where the subcontractor did their due diligence to work through this, but we're at a spot where we need to move forward to get this cleaned up, and we've done the proper notification so that we can do this as we still have not fully paid the contractor because we're still waiting for closeout documents. So this is obviously still under their watch and care, and so we'll be charging this against what this will be a negative change order, so to speak, to the contract to reimburse the city. We're going to probably have to have a follow-up for this one because this is to remediate the issue. The next thing will have to be to put the sheetrock back on the walls or anything that we can't clean and remediate back together. We'll do the same notifications back to the contractor, and we may have to come back to amend this resolution with a secondary resolution because we're anticipating that the contractor's not going to follow suit to fulfill his obligations to the city. But we've been working diligently trying to not have to come to this situation. In my almost 30-year career professionally of working with contractors and doing projects, this is only the second time that I've had to really go back against a contractor. And it's, so it's not something you do every day, not something that you want to do, not something that you take lightly, but, you know, they have contractual obligations and responsibilities to provide a service and a product to the city, and they haven't lived up to that, fulfilling that final end. So this is kind of where we're at,
Okay.
if that.
Any questions or comments, council? I think what's most important is this is going to come out of their bill, not ours, so, and we're going to get it fixed.
And, you know, and I do apologize, you know, for not communicating some of the steps along the way to the full council. Because, you know, at every little step I thought, you know, because we were getting movement from the subcontractor, and I thought we were going to have that resolution at the end, but it's like, every time you think you have wishful hope, like the contractor's really going to step up and do what they're responsible to do. So for that, I apologize for the short notice. I only notified council, I know, probably less than 2 hours before the meeting started regarding this, and this is just kind of at the last minute, unfortunate. So I do apologize for that.
Any other questions or comments, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer? Yes. Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes.
Mayor Mullick?
Yes. Okay, on to new business. City solicitor, any new business?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
City manager?
Just two things. First, just as a reminder, October 22nd, we are going to hold a special presentation regarding flood, the New Jersey PAC rules, and also flood insurance promotion at Convention Hall, 5 to 7. This affects everyone in the city, affects everyone in the county. You know, these proposed rules. Flood insurance is important. I mean, you know, obviously, the devastation that we're seeing through a lot of our southern states right now of that hurricane, you know, you're going to see, you know, a lot of those people that are being devastated right now, they're not in flood hazard zones, so this is kind of part of what we're talking about. But the regulation, you know, and I think, you know, you may see some pundits go out and say, hey, this is why we're doing this. You know, the flooding that you're seeing through Tennessee and North Carolina, you know, that's riverine flooding, much different type of flooding than we have here in our coastal communities. We have coastal flooding, you know, we have identified risk, but in a lot of communities where riverine flooding, even here in New Jersey, it's not mapped, it's not regulated to the extent that our flood regime is understood, regulated, and modeled. So that's one reason why we talk and, you know, have to talk about these regulations. So that's on the 22nd, so I hope everybody can attend. It's not still too late to make public comment. All the official open public comments period over, but people can still write in official comments as needed. And just as a sidebar to that, earlier this week I had correspondence from the National Association for Floodplain Managers, and they talked about back in earlier in April of this year that HUD adopted a final rule on they call it federal flood risk management standards, and they're going to be looking for any projects or anyone wishing to get a mortgage through the Federal Housing Administration will have to be in a community that has at least 2 feet of freeboard as part of their special flood hazard zone. So if somebody's looking to get a mortgage that is backed through the FHA, so you're really looking at your first-time home buyers, some of your moderate income home buyers that might be trying to use FHA or the 203K program to receive a federal mortgage. If they're looking to get and guarantee a mortgage that is in a special flood hazard area, and if that community does not have at least 2 feet of freeboard as part of their, that means that you have to build at least 2 feet above the base flood elevation, you may not be able to get an FHA mortgage for that home. Now, good news is the city has had a 2-foot freeboard for years. So the city has always understood that risk, acknowledged that risk, and, you know, prepared for that risk. So we are safe. Some of our neighboring communities that we work with, do not have a 2-foot freeboard, so those properties and those special flood hazard areas, West Cape May, will be affected, and others, Lower Township, will be affected, Middle Township will be affected. So there's a lot of communities that haven't prepared for that. But this is just kind of I just mentioned that as a tangential thing that it's coming and affecting us, but I think the Cape May City is well prepared. Thank you. That's all I had.
City Clerk,
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
council members, Deputy Mayor Baldwin.
Just a quick update. Jazz Festival, for a reminder for everyone, is October the 25th through the 27th, all throughout the city. A very nice event. And you know what? I love the community we live in here. And this week I had the wonderful opportunity of marrying a couple. And I get a text from our police chief. They're here. And I said, I'm on my way. I'll be right there. And lo and behold, that when I got here, they had flowers. It was beautiful. We went out to the Colonial House, came back in, signing the documents. I asked him about the flowers. So the police chief gave me the flowers. So he's got a gentle heart. But yeah, that was really sweet.
That is cool.
We have a great community. We have great people in this city here.
Yeah.
So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Councilwoman McDade?
No, I just want to thank you, Deputy Manager Justin Riggs, Police Chief Fashel, and Fire Chief Coulter for coming out. We had a wonderful event for the Village Green Civic Association on Saturday at the Lutheran Church. We had over 60 people in attendance, and we've been doing a membership drive and getting a lot of new people who have moved in to Cape May or have had homes in the Village Green area for a number of years, but are now here full-time. So we're really excited about seeing a resurgence in that part of the city. So it's really nice to see that community come together. And thank you for coming out. The updates that everyone provided, everyone very much appreciated. So thank you.
That's great. Yeah, thank you very much. Councilman Meyer?
I just want to mention how, going along with the deputy mayor was saying, how much of a wonderful community we have. We also have wonderful visitors, and Oktoberfest seemed like it went off without a hitch.
Yeah.
And I don't often get a chance to see it, so it's really cool to be a part of these community events.
Yeah. Councilman Yeager?
Yeah, I'd like to just remind everybody that the Environmental Commission will be managing this coming Sunday, October 6th. It's going to be a Dune Day volunteer dune grass planting, pretty important for our city, of course. And I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. It begins at 10 a.m. and you don't really need to bring anything but yourself, and meet at the lifeguard headquarters, 10 a.m., and it's only expected to be about 2 hours. So if anybody's got the time, please stop out and volunteer.
That's great. That'll be a fun one. Thank you. I just have a couple quick ones. Again, I thank the Chief Fashaw, Chief Coulter, and Maureen. Thank you very much for hosting that, really, and all of the Village Green Association. Lots of good information. Mostly just reminders that you have really good people protecting us here in the city of Cape May. But I know on the same day they had Oktoberfest, they had the event at Ray's Farm. So we had a lot of activities in town, and was handled really well. So thank you. And I want to thank the county again for the nature trails for open space, but also we were approved by Open Space for Harborview Park. So that's another big, I think $1 million approximately grant that I think will be a really nice improvement to what's already a beautiful park, but could use a little tidying up and upgrading. And I think it really will look wonderful. And lastly, Halloween. Just remember that's coming up. I think, do we have one more council meeting before that?
Yeah, we'll have a
Yeah.
resolution on the next meeting.
We are talking with the police chief about closing a couple blocks or one-way blocks of Washington. I'm leaving it in the very capable hands of our city manager and police chief, but, for trick-or-treaters, just that 5 to, is it 8?
8
8,
usually, I believe.
5 to 8 p.m. I just know as a parent, when you're walking down that street and cars are flying with little kids in masks that they can't even see out of, I always get terrified. So anyway, with that, we'll open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone.
Mayor, real quick, if I could just, as Chief's coming up, I just wanted to comment, Deputy Chief Eck, our OEM coordinator, did a wonderful job doing a tabletop exercise. It was kind of one of those perfect storm type things that we probably won't see in the city of Cape May, but, that was kind of the famous last words. It was with the desal plant, 4th of July weekend, complete power shutdown, all the going through the whole scenario. So I just wanted to comment, since he is in attendance, I just wanted to tell him, excellent job with that. We had all the players in the room, and Chief Fashall and Maureen McDade was there as well. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager. I'll expound on that. I'm proud to be a partner with Mike. We've been together a long time in the fire service. He takes a sincere passion with this. His father is an OEM, so sometimes I look at it like, man, we're doing a lot of work here, but it's the practice that we're doing that's going to make it better when it happens. Yeah. So I applaud him, and I'm proud to be one of his coordinators, along with Justin Riggs and Frank McCluskey. I think Mike deserves a round of applause for what he does. So.
Yeah.
I'll be quick, as I know the late hour's coming. I just want to expound actually on the flower thing. So I'm here, they're here, young couples here getting married, or waiting to get married, and I walked through the hall and was here later, and they were, I was married, did the thing. I noticed she didn't have flowers. I'm like, let's just walk next to the Acme. That's what Cape May does, you know what I mean? So they were very happy to receive flowers from us, because I said it's on behalf of the city to do that. I didn't know how long Maureen was going to be. Traffic was thick coming through town that afternoon. So she got here. They were married right outside, right on the next door porch, and they were very happy. I saw them the next day. And they were still smiling. People love to come to Cape May. It's the wedding capital, in my opinion, of the East Coast. So It's very important. I've been around the country, so it's very nice. So a couple things I wanted to just circle back on. Again, Ms. McDade, thank you for inviting us to Village Green's property owners meeting. I think it's very informative. We were very busy that day. I'm like, all right, how do I stick this into my day, get here? But the questions that were asked, the way it was handled, I think we should do more of that. We sometimes do, managers' houses going on doing coffee and cop at Victorian Towers. They ask about parking and things like that, and how to get across the street safely. We were addressing some of those items. So I think that should be done more often. If there's any civic organizations, Shane, you're part of a lot of groups, even the VFW. Maybe we come down and talk to people at the VFW. It's a lot of work sometimes, and one more meeting, I know I'm adding meetings and things, but people want to know, and I don't know, and Deputy Chief Eck and his chief don't know what the needs are unless we're out there. We can't be blinded to it. So speaking with our community is very important, and I've been there twice for meetings, and they'll throw the questions at you. They're not afraid to throw them at you, but they're good questions, allowing me to go check a street end. Hey, what's wrong with a blind area? They have an issue with a blind corner, which I've reported to the county to see if we can try to figure out how to pull off of that intersection, because Ms. McDade's experienced it, other people in the room have experienced it, and if we can address something before something bad happens, that's what our goal is. So I appreciate the invite there. You notice I'm wearing my pink ribbon. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We definitely are a community that's a part of that. We've had a lot of people that are affected by that. Just lost a dear friend this Sunday, not from breast cancer, but from cancer. So it's near and dear to our heart. Several of my police officers and my staff have been affected by cancer. So you'll see the officers around either with a pink T-shirt underneath their uniform shirt or with our pink ribbons, just honoring and celebrating those that have beaten cancer and remembering those that have lost that battle. So it's a very bad disease. Oktoberfest and the Ray Farm event, again, another busy part of the day. I will say that Oktoberfest in Cape May on Saturday it felt like a summer day on steroids. It was, if you were out and about and in this community, it was warm. I was sweating. It was 80 degrees, it felt like, and it just was a lot of people. But again, I will applaud the fire staff, my staff, Public Works, in and out, grabbing trash cans, Eric's staff. He's still here. So, it's it's what you guys let us do to make this community better. So we appreciate, all the employees appreciate that, but they hustle. I got to give it to them. They hustled and they made Oktoberfest what it was. And, you know, there wasn't, knock on wood, one problem, a couple little hiccups here and there, but we blocked the roads off, we make it safe, and it's here to stay. So the event out in West Cape May, I think that's also here to stay. It's not that it's a Cape May issue, but it was a very well-ran event. I've spoken to the people over there. You know, I could imagine, I didn't realize how many people were over here, and there was probably 500-600 people over there. I'm like, where are we sticking them all at? They were there. That event ended at 4, people left there and came here. So again,
Chief, I just want to compliment
Yeah.
one thing too, because we've all been to different festivals in other towns and things like that, and typically what I see is the sawhorses, you know,
Yeah,
just
we lock
blocking
it
things
down.
off. I mean, you know, you hate to talk about it in public, but you have big trucks parked completely blocking
Yep.
any access to that area.
Yeah, that's-
We all hate to think about what could happen, but most towns aren't doing that kind of detail that your
Yeah,
staff
that's-
is doing.
I appreciate, that's definitely a part of my coordination with coordination with Mike Eck. It's something he's taught me over the years and some of our training. You know, it's not if, it's when. I've spoken about that at the meetings. I told the people in the Village Green, I don't live in a dream world. Things can happen, but I want to be as prepared as we can. You guys entrust us to do this job, so we're going to be prepared as I can. I could buy a bunch of heavier weight barricades, but yeah, it's unsightly to see a big trash can in the way, but you know what? They're there to take the trash away, and they're there to block that runaway car or something. We have K-9 out there. I give a high regard to the Cape May County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Nolan, who allows the K-9 unit to come down here, the mounted patrol to come down here, and we staff it. So that again is great coordination for their love for the city. They love coming here, so I appreciate that. I wanted to circle back on, you had asked, actually there was a member, she's not here, about the Washington Street speeding. So we did a road study internally with the police department. Lieutenant Mazza, who's in charge of Patrol Division, had the officers run for 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since we've had that meeting. And I can just pass these along and you guys can see them real quick. That's the data sheet that we get. You'll get that copy. The manager will get that copy tomorrow so that you can see that it's actually a sheet that the officers have in their vehicle. They write down each speed that they denote, how many tickets were given on that period of time they were there, and then they report that back to the lieutenant, which he'll tabulate that and tell me how many speeding tickets were involved. There was approximately 19 tickets given during that 2-week period. I will tell you, we bumped into a few locals, but that's kind of the reason why we do it, because they may be the ones speeding that just trying to get through one part of town. And you know, it was some out-of-towners, but there was a couple of locals that were involved in it, and, you know, they did get tickets. They called me afterwards and said, hey, what's going on here? I blamed you guys, but that's okay, because I can do that. However, they understood that we were trying to crack down. I pointed them back to locals that I know, Mr. Nash and Mr. Notch, pardon me. I said, if you have questions or concerns, speak to some of the people that are our friends. Speak to Yogi, speak to people like that, and they did. So there were several tickets given out there. There was one for tossing injurious debris out of a vehicle. That's throwing a cigarette out of a vehicle, but so that's what the actual ticket is called. But it was a local guy. He called me immediately, and he was very upset. But I said, you have an ashtray, correct? Use it. So I won't go into who it was, but again, that's a pet peeve of mine, along with children in child seats. I drive down the street, see kids bouncing into cars. I just walk up to, when I was stopping cars, walk up and say, you have precious cargo aboard, please seatbelt it in. You know what I mean? So I do have some notes on that paper that Shane's looking through, but I think I need the notes.
And while Chief's doing that, I'll just say,
Looking at which cops I like the most right here. How many tickets were given out?
I'll just say, you know, on Saturday, Chief, really great job. I was able to ride along with Chief for a little bit of time, and just your officers did a tremendous job. I just wanted to give a shout out to you.
Justin had a ride along. He's put an application in to be a Cape May police officer. Sorry, Paul, he's coming over to this side of the bridge. But yeah, the flowers, Village Green, Pink October, Ray, this study, like I said. So we'll continue that. What I'd like to do is do it about 4 times a year. And I think I'm just going to make it a part of that area there, a part of the patrol divisions. You know, we do directed patrol, but I'm just going to encourage them to be out there a little bit more often. We're going to run the study with these sheets 4 times a year, because I can't get a good barometer on it just doing it now. It's September and October. I needed to do it again around Christmas time, and then springtime, and then in midsummer to give you an actual good reading. Right now, my approximate reading was 32 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think,
But it's still speeding. The speed limit is it's still speeding.
20.
20. So people got tickets. I think we gave about 9 or 10 tickets out to people that were speeding over 20. 27 miles an hour? Yep.
there's some outliers. And we're always worried about the outliers because they're the ones that speed the most. But
Yeah.
it shows, what I'm seeing here is a lot of, not much above 20.
Not much above 20, but there was the ones that jumped up to 27, and, we set the limit at 20. Mr. Yeager did a long study on that 5-mile, 10-mile radius of death. You know what I mean? So if I don't, encourage it, then that's where we are, so.
Got a quick question for you,
Yes,
Chief. The no turn on red, that was another issue that was brought up.
At Acme?
No,
Or-
at Madison.
or Madison.
Madison and Washington.
Yes, so what happens, I had to run that study first, then
Okay.
pull back to PNC and run. So I didn't want to run it concurrently because I had them further up at MAC, because I needed them to safely turn around. They had to do K-turns to chase out of the people because they were running it both ways. The people that were
Okay.
coming at them, they have to do K-turns to get out of town. So
I saw one.
what they'll do is, I'm going to announce it, they're going to be at PNC Bank, the old PNC Bank, watching that light. So if you're going to run it, if you're going to speed through it, we're going to be on you in the next 2 weeks.
I'd like to talk about the no turn on red. I mentioned to the mayor and a couple other people earlier today. Last night, around this time, dusk time, I was heading northbound on Washington, and someone was sitting on Madison, and they made a left-hand turn coming this way during their red light. If I had been 5 seconds even ahead of time, I would have been in the side of that car.
You and the scooter wouldn't have been good.
I mean, like, you're going to make a left-hand turn at a red light? I mean, what country do we live in? Where people just do this?
Yeah, it's people just kind of live in that la-la land sometimes, and they just want to get to somewhere. Again, my sentiment is always slow down and smell the salt air. Give me a pound on it. There you go. I'm out.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Anyone else this evening?
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. I just want to touch on the fact that Serpro has to do remediation, and the contractor for the firehouse is not responding to the issues. I want to make sure that council keeps note of this, so that any other future contracts, that maybe we don't give them the contract to do any other future building for city buildings. My next comment has to do with, as a TPA member, I just want to make a shout out that on October 10th, it's a Thursday night, the TPA is having Meet the Candidates Night that are running for city council and for mayor. And that will be at 5:30. The doors will open at the elementary school in the auditorium. The presentation and the questions will start at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Jules Rouse, 1010 New York Avenue. I'd like to compliment the county on the paving job that they did today at New York Avenue and Madison and Kearney. They redid that entire intersection. And the police department, they had cars at New York, New Jersey, Madison, because that's a very funny, unusual intersection. And while I was standing there, one guy came down New York, crossed right across all the new oil that had just been dropped on the ground, preparing for the blacktop to be laid down. And I'm standing there with the supervisor. He says, "Look at that! That guy's going to have it right down the side of his car." But they did a very nice job. A very concerning thing last week. There was a zoning board meeting with the Grand Hotel. 2 years ago, they built, without permits, any approval from anyone, a lounge area parallel to and just off of Beach Avenue. And they went before the board to get approval for it. And it was denied 7-0 for a number of different reasons. The only reason I bring it here is I have no idea whether they're going to appeal the decision. That's obviously their decision. However, there was a breakdown in our system where we allowed that project to start several years ago and continue without being stopped. And it's been finished. It's been sitting there with, I think, some 70-odd seats, tables, chairs, 2 fire pits, umbrellas. And my understanding is that there had never been any stop work orders. There had been several visitations from code enforcement, but to my knowledge, there was never any citations or violations started. And I think we need to evaluate why that could happen. I mean, it's such a prominent location. There's no reason why that should go under the rug. Paul, I know you weren't
Well,
in business here.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with that characterization slightly. I think the city did what it needed to do, and it did it in its normal course of operation. So when I talked to Bruce Britton, our zoning officer, there was another permitted construction operation going on at that location during the same time they started this illegal construction. So when you drove by on a normal course, it didn't have any appearance. So when you talk about what was done, you don't really see a lot from the street until you get up close. So it wasn't until it was close to finish that it was noticed. They were given notice that you couldn't use it, that they needed a permit. They were very cooperative, and they didn't utilize it in the fashion that they had intended because they realized, after notice. So we try to work with our residents and commercial properties. Yes, do some of them go and do things without permits first? Yes. Do we end up catching them and noticing them? Yes. But the process, we followed our normal process. We notified them. They stopped. They came. It took a long time for them to make an application. Yes. But they didn't use it, to my understanding, during that time. And they made ultimately made an application to the zoning board, HPC application, went through the process, went to the zoning board. The zoning board, heard the application. They made a decision that it didn't meet the warrants for a variance, and it was denied. Mr. Britton will be communicating to the applicant, okay, you were denied. We all know they have an appeal process, so we can't force them to take it up during this appeal process, but they've been communicated to, says, well, when you get to this point, if you're not going to appeal it, you'll have a certain period of time to remove it and restore it back to original condition. He was already looking at old aerial photography, looking up old plans to see what the condition was prior to this, to make sure that it's restored in its proper fashion. So I think what happened was unfortunate, that we had a business owner take it upon themselves to do some modification to their property without approvals, but I think our city staff did what was appropriate in their due course of action, and I think the zoning board made an ultimate decision of denial, and maybe that was the smartest decision the zoning board did, to maybe deny that, to show some other business owners that may want to do some things without getting approval and ask for forgiveness later, that guess what? You may not just get your approval just because you built it. So, but I think the city did the proper course of action.
Well, certainly the zoning board
if I could
did a
just
great
add on
job.
to that, I have to wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Dietrich's characterization of it. I actually was filling in kind of pro temp secretary, planning board, zoning board secretary, was out of town that night. So you actually, in a quasi way, had city administration at that meeting, filling in pro temp secretary, and ultimately the application was heard, and the zoning board did their job, and they made a decision based off the facts that were laid out on the table. There was a conversation the next day with Mr. Britton, and ultimately the way they got to the zoning board was the zoning officer, like Mr. Dietrich said, found that was in violation. So ultimately, they brought that application to the board. So I'll just reserve my comments at that.
What is their appeal period?
I believe it's,
45 days from publication of the decision.
And we have another, and has the local Hotel filed an appeal?
They have, and that's probably more of an update I was prepared to give tonight, but yeah, they filed an appeal.
That was just recently, I believe.
Yeah, they filed an appeal. That's currently under appeal. They filed for a motion to stay. That was partially denied, partially granted by the judge.
Not that you're willing to get into that, but that appeal, of course, is appealing a favorable decision to the city. We've had multiple favorable decisions to the city. I know you're not saying it. Well, I'm just explaining that since it's
I'm
coming
aware
to
of
the
that.
public.
I'm very happy that,
Well, just to be clear, since you brought it up, when the city has been put to the test on these types of things, we've prevailed. And that case is precisely one of those examples where down the line, the city, HPC, planning board, affirmed.
I think it was a
Okay,
great.
without exception.
Yeah.
So we're, on the same token, though, with something like the example that you brought up, the city, and this is the position that the city has taken in all of its land use type litigation, we're interested in compliance. We're interested in buildings coming into compliance with our codes and our standards. We're not out to just punish people for punishment's sake. However, at a certain point, people have to come into compliance. So I think Mr. Britton briefed me on the Grand situation, and he going to the board is a version of compliance. If somebody's out of compliance, say, look, listen, you got to go to the board, make your presentation. If they deny it, then it, the compliance issue can proceed in that other tract. But the fact that they went to the board, went to the trouble of making the application, hiring professionals, hiring whoever else, paying the application fee, sitting in front of a board presenting an application is its own version of compliance. And there's definitely some costs associated with that. But
And there'll be some additional costs as they go forward.
undoubtedly, litigation, the cost is guaranteed, the outcomes are not.
The other question I have is, and Mr. Dietrich, you may be able to comment or maybe not. The proximity to the ocean, would that have required or may require a CAFR permit?
No, not at that location. I don't believe that, I mean, the application that was denied, no, I don't think that would have required a CAFR permit.
Well, no.
Like if they were affirmed if they got an approval at the zoning board for what they had constructed, I don't think that would have then necessitated them to go to get a CAFR permit. I don't think so.
But thank you.
But that is a moot point at this point because they weren't given an approval. So the discussion of whether they need a CAFR permit or not really is elemental. Yeah, I mean it's kind of a study.
I'm
not
hopeful that both of these examples will give everyone that comes to Cape May to do business the understanding that we have rules, they should be followed, and if not, the city's willing to take the expense of litigating. So that I congratulate the city on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roush. And just echoing that the decisions that have been made lately, and I mean over the last few years, have all been in the city's favor, and it's a testament to the boards and the board solicitors, the board professionals, and the volunteers on those boards. They do a good job, and frankly, the judges have agreed with that as well. Any other comments this evening? Motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a comment.
Oh, go ahead, please.
For those on the boards, please make sure you give your reasons for your answers. That helps the judges when it comes to that piece. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Time is 7:17.
7:17. Enjoy. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.